Hi there, and welcome to this YouTube jazz guitar video lesson. In this lesson I'd like to explain how to play a really cool jazz guitar chord type called Quartile Voicings, or fourth voicings as they're sometimes referred to. These voicings are really useful, and if you'd like to get tab and notation for all these different voicings that we're going to be talking about, if you look below this video there's a link to an article on my website which has all the voicings and tab and notation, so you can go and load that up if you want. In this video we're going to be examining quartile voicings, how they're formed and how you can use some of them over a one chord situation. And what you just heard there in the opening video to this lesson was me playing over a 2-5-1 in the key of C, and I was kind of mixing some voicings that I discussed in previous video lessons like drop 2 chords. And what I was trying to do is, over the one chord, I was using quartile voicings most of the time, hopefully anyway. And basically that's what I'm going to do in this video. I'm going to show you how fourth voicings are constructed and formed, how you can use a few of them to make really nice one chords and use them as alternatives for like drop 2 chords, for example. And that'll be this lesson. We're going to move on to different parts further on in the series and explore these chords, quartile chords, you know, over the different degrees of the scale. But I won't say too much more. I'll get zoomed in and show you how you can play these chord voicings. So thanks again for checking out this lesson, and I hope you enjoy it. The types of chords that most jazz guitarists start with are stacked in thirds. For example, a C major 7 in closed position is stacked in thirds. We have a C to an E, which is a third, an E to a G, which is a third, and a G to a B, which is a third as well. And that's a great jazz guitar voicing that's worth knowing. But as well as using chord voicings like this that are stacked in thirds, another nice chord voicing that you can use to add to your colour palette is what's called a quartile voicing, or a fourth voicing. So if we compare, for example, this voicing, which is a closed position voicing stacked in thirds, to a quartile voicing, you'll hear that the quartile voicing has a much darker, funkier sound. If we compare a drop 2 chord voicing, a C major 7 voicing on the middle 4 strings, to a quartile voicing, you'll hear again that the quartile voicing produces a much darker sound than the drop 2 major chord voicings. So these are worth knowing and integrating into your jazz guitar playing. So like drop 2 chords, they can be arranged on different string sets of the guitar. So let's begin by looking at how these voicings are constructed on the top 4 strings of the guitar. Before we do this, it's worth just getting to grips with the C major scale on one string, just so you know what it is. So we can't start on a C, so if we're starting an E note, we can play the open E string, then go to the F, G, A, B, C, D, E. And this is worth knowing because all these quartile shapes I'm going to be showing you are harmonised in that scale. Really, you can play a harmonised C major scale in quartile voicings. So this first note G, if we go a fourth below that, we have a D. There's our first fourth interval, D to G, and then D is a fourth of A, so there's the other interval, and then A is a fourth of E. So that is our first voicing that's completely stacked in fourths. Now if we hear this with a C bass note, we can hear this as a really nice C6-9 type of sound. It's got no third in there, but that doesn't really matter too much. If you play it and a 2-5-1 content, you can hear that it works just fine. So we can use that as a 1 chord if we want, and I particularly like using this chord, which has the 5th as the top note as a melody note, because the drop 2 chord voicing for that is that, which is a really beautiful chord, but it's quite tricky to get to, where this one isn't really as problematic to you, and you can get to it much faster than that chord. So that's one use for it straight away really. So that's the first voicing that we can use. The next one, the next available note in the C major scale is the A. So if we build a chord that's constructed in fourths of this degree of the scale, we get this chord. Again, we have fourths here: E to A, B to E, and then F to B. And now this is a tritone, or an augmented fourth, but that's fine as well, because we have to keep it diatonic to the key of C. That's why we've got the tritone interval there. These are all fourths within the C major scale. So far we have this chord voicing, then we have this one with the tritone in. The next one we have these chords that are stacked in fourths. So there's a G to a C, which is a fourth, C to F, which is a fourth, then F to B, which is another augmented fourth. Really nice sound. Next chord voicing again is this one, which is a shape that hopefully you recognise from the first grip. Right there. So again we have A to D, there's a fourth, and then D to G, which is a fourth, and then G to C, another fourth. And this one works really nice as a C major chord voicing, because you know, the drop 2 chord for that is that, which is, it's okay. It's not my favourite chord voicing that's ever been created. I much prefer using this one. And you can imagine if you're playing Green Dolphin Street, you know, the first few bars of that, if you played that with a drop 2 chord, it sounds okay. But if you use this quartile voicing, it's a much nicer sound, I think, than the drop 2 chord voicing. And again, this one may be a bit harmonically ambiguous because it's got no thirding, but you have the C bass note in there, and you can probably tell that that works absolutely fine as a 1 chord. You can definitely hear how it's working there. So that's the next chord voicing. So the one after that, you can just move the same shape up 2 frets, and we've got the fourth voicings again. So we have the B note to the E, which is a fourth, then E to A, which is a fourth, then A to D, which is a fourth. So, and you can add a C bass note, and this works great as again another C6-9 chord, or maybe like a C major 9 or something like that, because this time we have the guide tones. We have a B and an E, and we have an A and a D, so that's a really nice chord voicing to use. And you can always add the C there to make it sound a little bit fuller. So what we've got so far, this voicing to this one, to this one, and then we go to this chord voicing. And here we have a C to an F, which is a fourth. Always very important to spot the intervals and know exactly what's under your fingers rather than just memorising grips. So we have a C to an F, which is a fourth, F to a B, which is another augmented fourth, and then a B to an E, which is another fourth. Lovely sound. Okay, the very last grip that we're going to use on the top 4 strings is this one, which is the shape that we've played numerous times by now. D to G, G to C, then C to F. So we kind of have that one shape that happens 4 times, which is really nice. It makes these chord voicings very quick to operate around, because you've got the same shape that kind of occupies half of the scale. So that's kind of how they span out on the top 4 strings of the guitar. I've kind of given you a few examples of how you can use some of them against a 1 chord. Now, not all of these quartile voicings will work over a 1 chord very well. They'll work for all the upper degrees of the scale amazingly, as I will go into later on in a lesson, or maybe in a separate lesson, how they work against, for example, a D minor chord, or an F Lydian chord, or an A Aeolian chord. But over the C major chord, some of them don't work so well, and that's because they contain this note, which is the 4th, which is really not a good sound to have on a major chord. If we play, you know, a C major 7 with a 4th instead of a 3rd, it just sounds rubbish. But if you play a sharp 4, however, it's a much more acceptable sound to use on a 1 chord rather than having the natural 11th. So from these voicings, the ones that I mainly use are the ones that don't include the 4th over a 1 chord. However, as I said before, these voicings can be applied over loads of different chord types, so it's still worth learning them all anyway. So make sure you get to grips with all the chord voicings on the top 4 strings of the guitar. Practice changing them in a systematic way, you know, just doing 1 per bar at first and then gradually increasing them so you can play 1 on every beat. That would be the kind of thing to do there. Besides learning quartile voicings on the top 4 strings, it's really important to learn them on the middle 4 strings as well. That's strings 2, 3, 4 and 5. They're constructed in exactly the same way, so I won't bother going over all the details. I think that would make a very long and boring video, because I've already done it on the top 4 strings, and hopefully you can see how you know, they are constructed, and you should now be able to, you know, find, for example, a D note on the B string and then construct that in 4ths to get the first voicing. It's really good for your theory and understanding of the guitar if you can do it without looking at the PDF actually, or the article on the website, and try and work them out yourself and use that, the article, to check if they're right. But they're constructed in exactly the same way. Some of them have the augmented 4th again, you know, the F to B, tritone interval. So what I wanted to do in this part of the video is basically just to explain how you can make some of them work over just a 1 chord, the C major chord. So this one's a really nice one. We've got the D and the A, so it's another nice 6/9 voicing you can use. And when I'm using this, you know, in real-time situations, I'll tend to just raise that B natural to a C to make it sound more like a 1 chord. You know, sometimes it's nice to have the B on there as well, but if you're playing in a duo situation, you can make this into like a nice kind of samba bossa nova chord. If you have the C there, you can lower it to the 5th if you want to. So that's how I kind of adapt that chord. You don't always need the 7th to make it a major chord, because you have the A, which really gives it a nice strong major tonality. So that's one that I'd use over a 1 chord. I wouldn't use this one because it has the F note again. This one again has the F note instead of the 3rd, and I don't want to change the voicings yet. I'll get on to how you can, you know, use all of these voicings, you know, as a Lydian sound later on, but for now let's just focus on the 1 chord. So I'm going to use that one by changing the B to a C. This one is exactly the same shape, which is a really nice chord voicing to use for a 1 chord. What I'll commonly do is add the C there again on the 8th fret of the low E string there, and that produces a really nice 1 chord. So I've got 1 quartile voice in there, well, kind of like a mix. I guess it starts in 3rds then goes into a quartile voicing, and then this is the same one again right there. These are both really good chords to know. And of course this one has the 5th on top, and those of you that know the drop 2 chord, which has the 5th on top, it's kind of that grip. So that grip is that grip versus doing that grip, which is nothing wrong with the drop 2 chord voicing, but you know, if you want to use these chords in real-time situations, you want to be able to move through each of these voicings smoothly, you know, loads of different inversions of C, it's much easier to grab that chord than the drop 2 one. So that's one that I'll commonly use in favour of that. Occasionally I'll add the C bass note and get rid of the 3rd. Even though it's got no 3rd, you can still hear that It's working fine as a 1 chord there. So that's another one that I'd use as a 1 chord. The next chord voicing, that's a really nice chord voicing to use as well. I mean, it's got the 4th, you know, which, yeah, you know, as you know, I don't like using that, but it's also got the 3rd as well, so it's not too bad as a 1 chord. That one has the 4th, no 3rd, so I don't really like using that too much. This one is another good one you can use, and that brings us back to where we started up here. So that's kind of how, you know, you can use these against a 1 chord. Really, there's some really nice voicings in there, but my personal use of these quartile voicings tends to be more of a kind of when I'm using them all together, tends to be more over like a modal situation, like when I'm comping over so what or impressions. So we'll get onto that next. Thank you for watching this jazz guitar chords video lesson. I hope that you've enjoyed it and found it useful. If you did enjoy the lesson, please click the like button below and subscribe to this channel for free future jazz and blues guitar lessons. Part 2 of this series should be up soon, and that'll examine how you can use the same voicings over a minor 7 situation, how you can use them on tunes like So What and Impressions. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you soon. Bye.